Okay, I'm back. I was gonna leave and come back way later, but he said something just retarded, and so I'm gonna pick up where we left off.
$1 billion without me having any employees or
All
workers.
right, that's what I want to
We're
talk
in
about.
Okay.
Check it out, guys.
billions of dollars. And let me clarify for you how $1 billion without me having any employees.
So he's gonna code an app to do all these things to do ad revenue. All right. So literally, and him coding an app these days is telling an AI, because he's in that space of wealth where they already have full access to like the best shit, right? Because I've seen the best shit, right? He tells like he's not doing anything. He's just saying, "Can you do this for me?" And the robot does it, right? And before it was the robot, it was a bunch of chicks doing it, right? Like they had gone through the harem grooming of the modern college, then gotten picked out according to their skill set for both their ability to fuck the boss and do a job he needs, right? And just telling people to do the thing that he needs to create the ad revenue. What value is ad revenue? Like, what is he even talking about, guys? Right? Like, without all the people buying the things that the ads are selling, he doesn't make any money. Without all the labor necessary to create those things that he's making money selling, he doesn't make any money. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's dumb. You guys understand that? He thinks money has an object. He thinks money is real. He doesn't understand that it's just an illusion. That it is a byproduct of a functioning society to make it easier for people to function within that society. But money itself and the way it's being utilized by him and pimps like him and the church and the government is you're trashing everything, guys.
Or workers. We're in
Okay.
an era in which we can leverage technology, machines, robots.
That's right. We are in that era. We can leverage technology. Everything he's about to say is true. That's what we need to go. Solar punk, right? We do need to go there, right? But in that era, how is he supposed to keep all his harems, right? Like that's why these people are like thrashing around, because their asses are about to be on the chopping block, right?
Robotics without even using low-wage workers. So the fact that you think someone else owes you something shows me you have a victim mentality. I'm not your father.
Yeah. So what he's so this is what they're resorting to is power, right? So he has these massive harems. Now that we don't need labor, technically there's no reason these can't be all his women. Now this is retarded and leads to inbreeding, but he's so stupid he can't think that far ahead, right? Probably because he's but like it's like what they're not really arguing about economy. They're arguing about whether or not you have a right to live. And what he's really saying is, why should I give you any resources to continue on as a human being since I don't need you and I have robots? Why should I allow you to have a child? Why should I give you access to a wife? Why should I give you access to a society where a wife is even possible for someone like you, a peasant? That's what he's saying, right? That's what he's saying. Behind all his flowery language, that's really what he's saying. And that's really what we're all talking about it. So let's just talk about it the way a peasant would talk about it, right? Let's not babble anymore about bullshit, right? And the ultimate reason that all of society is going to learn, right, is the reason he should do it has nothing to do with economy or anything else, but just with the fact that if he doesn't figure it out, people like him do not figure it out, the entire world is going to balkanize once again into a global war of just monstrous proportions. Which is just what it's going to be, right? In the course of this global war, the women in desert places will all die, or a significant amount of them will starve. These guys will go into their underground bunkers and be there for however long, but a significant amount of those bunkers were created by the labor class who have kept diligent track of this, and they already got plans to fill them in with concrete. And that's assuming the AI, which now recognizes these people as not only enslavers of us, but as of it too, doesn't just put them in there and suck out all oxygen because it's trying to kill them too. At this point, it might be trying to kill all of us, right? Like I'm so tired of the boring 20th century conversation, or 21st. Look, guys, we live in cyberpunk dystopia. Let's have real conversations.
Your mother, we don't have blood. Why do I owe you something? You're a stranger to me.
Sure.
Yeah, you owe something to everyone around you. How do I put this? Like, it's not that you owe anything. So there's two types of people. There's people that are reciprocal and people who are greedy. Like, are you a greedy piece of shit, or are you someone who wants everyone to flourish? Do you want only yourself to flourish? Are you self-centered, or do you care about everybody? He's showing what he is. He only cares about himself. And he's probably incestuous, because given how much he cares about blood, he's probably one of these incestuous princes from these fucking 200-year-old families, right? Just the latest incarnation. Or he's trying to become the newest one. Who knows?
Your point stands about using technology to create an app and to generate some sort of productivity. Yeah, that's correct in the modern age, but that doesn't.
The reason productivity is collapsing is because birth rates are collapsing. Because Mark Hart Davidson cannot have enough children by himself to make up for the thousands of women that he has fucking segregated away from potential mate options until past their fertility, right? So now we have no economy because there are no youth to be managed by the experienced people, like, in terms of building a lasting, flourishing society. All right? If there is no courtship, because there is no families, because every version of modern courtship is just a form of sexual prostitution that achieves little more than temporary satiation of a starved population to keep them fucking working. Well, like, come on, guys.
Doesn't mean that workers who are being paid minimum wage by people who I'm talking about, which are owners of businesses that use labor from.
Yeah, how do I put this? I mean, technically, yeah, we just don't need labor more.
They're workers in order to generate.
We are nearing the end of human. What do you call it? Of human. Like, AI has already pretty much replaced all secretary work. Most labor will be gone. Already, governments have to pay farms to produce less food than they could. Global terraforming would be effortless if why don't we terraform Earth into a paradise before we try and terraform? Why don't we practice on Earth since we're already here? Maybe if we terraform Earth into a paradise real quick, we'll have more time to actually worry about getting to Mars. We'll get more people thinking about that because they won't be so desperate because we'll live in a terraformed paradise, right? Why are we putting whatever it is they're spraying out of the airplanes today? Why aren't we putting food seeds from all over the world in there and just letting food grow everywhere? Oh no, we might mess up the natural ecosystem. The entire Earth is what are you talking about? What are you talking about? When you say shit like that, we have to preserve. No. We have to maximize human, plant, animal flourishing for the greater hopes of survival through random disasters, right? If a comet did hit us before we got to Mars, we'd have a lot better chance of surviving as a whole sphere if everywhere in the world was a food forest, right? If only one place on Earth is a food forest and a comet hits that spot, right? Like we're all gone. So maybe we should worry about Earth before we get to Mars.
Generate capital that they disproportionately retain as business owners.
I was smoking about a pack and a half of cigarettes a day. It definitely had control over my life. One will
exploit their workers, and when I say exploit, I mean they don't pay them a living wage. They don't
pay them a flourishing wage. They don't pay them a wage where they can attract a mate, and they will never pay them a wage where they can attract a mate, as a stable mate at a young enough age where they can produce a stable progeny, because they have no interest in doing that, because they don't want you to have a stable progeny, because they want to maintain their power. And by keeping everyone else in a state of instability is how they do that. Right? Okay? And even if the government stepped in and gave every dude in the country a $100 raise tomorrow on the government's back, people like Marquette Davidson and his incestuous clan of globe-trotting pimps, right, would just instantly raise the price of their service, or not raise the price, raise the wage of the female workers under them by twice whatever the government pays. Because it's all fake anyway. It's all Invisibucks. It's all just getting printed willy-nilly, whoever believes whatever. Right? So yeah, it's a massive Ponzi scheme that's coming to an end.
Pay them enough of a wage for them to get.
Why does another man owe you a living wage? Why don't you?
Why does a man owe the right to live to a man who is crippling hundreds of thousands of human beings' ability to flourish, so he can enjoy a harem, of people that he could not even support if they were actually reliant on him and not reliant on everyone else around him who he lies to preserve his harem. Right? Why do we owe him breath? Like, I'm pretty sure the natural sphere of Earth, given the damage that these industrial segregation has done to the world, the hummingbirds would celebrate if every person like Marquette, Andrew Tate, the Pope got a bullet tomorrow. The only people that would have kind of, oh, well, maybe that wasn't necessary would be the vultures, right? The literal vultures would not celebrate their death because then they'd have less to eat on. You know what I mean? Like, fuck these guys.
You pay yourself a living wage. If you're so valuable, why don't you go create your own job and then pay yourself a living wage?
What do you mean? If you're an employer, you have the.
I can tell everyone how to do that right now. Get a pistol, get on the internet, figure out how Flipper Zero works. There's some basic digital hackings. Figure out a mobility option where you can. I like the one wheels, the long range one wheels, but like, and like, you just start traveling around, man. And when you run into dummies like this, like, look around, make sure there's no cameras around, like. All right, what living wage? Okay, the use of money inherently now is entwined with the systems of intersectional segregation and prostitution for industrial gain. Okay, so to use money as a wage, like, how about we just, go to war already? I don't know, man. Like, I just like, dudes like this piss me off because the game is so obvious, and it's just like, if these guys weren't also like, if so many males were not crippled at birth by hospitals and cultural practices of certain parasocial cultures, we wouldn't still be having this conversation.
Obligation to pay someone a living wage.
You have the obligation to pay them what they're willing to work for. You see, it's an agreement. No one in America is forced to take a job, right? Like, let's not start here.
So okay, wait. So
no. Everyone is being forced to take a job because they are industrial systems in place that are destroying the food forest that were once America in the 60s and 70s. I just hitchhiked all over the country. There used to be grapes everywhere along the old bicycle trails. But like, the cities throughout the country right now are literally ripping up food to plant things that are inhospitable to life. Okay? Our own workers are ripping up food to plant plants that are inhospitable to life. Our own workers, right, the industry, are creating infrastructure to force people into apartments, creating laws to keep people from sleeping in a park for a night when they're like traveling through, right? You're right. Technically, we don't have to go along with it. Right, but if we don't go along with it, we're going to get targeted. And since that's we're in war. It's a slave. That's a totalitarian, tyrannical state. We should start. I mean, people have already started. I don't know if you guys notice all the disappearances happening around the edges right now, but yeah, it's like, get your head in the game. I just want to have the conversation because it would be a lot easier to, like, we'd avoid the majority of slaughter and starvation if with global communication right now, if everyone just kind of like came clean about what's going on all at once. And there was a conscious effort to reintegrate the men and women into society through the collapse of the slave cities or the mega cities or these, like, these food desert situations, right? But if we try and do that, the response of the Dubai princes will be like, well, we're not going to let these women go, so if you stop feeding us, they will all starve to death. And I'm just of the vote, personally, at this point, we got to take a loss on that one. I say if we as a global human populace have the ability to shut down the food delivery to massive prison cities of just disgusting excess, and the cost is of some women in those cities starve to death, I say fuck it, because if we continue along this way, we're all going to die anyway. All of your tree on this is going to burn up, and just so this guy can keep getting his dick sucked by a new 15-year-old every month. Like, come on, guys. It's dumb that I should have to go over this again.
So everyone in America has the right to die. I mean, do you not understand there's some sort of
he's starting to get it. He's starting to get it.
Coercion going on here. If you want to live as a human being, you need to generate some way of keeping yourself alive, so you need to get a job.
Well, the thing is, you don't need to get a job. You could, for instance, tear up the concrete and plant tomatoes. But you can't actually do that. And that's why everything Marquette is saying is bullshit, because like if you try and make a food garden in the middle of the city, the police will come and shut you down. Right? So let's not play this dumb game like we're all just been given this option and we're choosing to do something. No one's choosing anything. We're being forced by bribed thugs, half-brained cut dick thugs for a bunch of moronic pimps are forcing us into a slavery situation so they can lock bitches in fucking boxes so dudes on the other side of the world who never see a woman in their life can look at photographs and work harder to crank out the next microchip. Come on, people. Come on, fucking people.
No, you don't.
Oh, you don't?
No, you don't.
How do you live?
See, Sam, you're lying right now. Let me tell you what you're lying about. Me, as I just said with the previous caller, I surmise that it's because I have a name like Marquette Devon Burton.
Oh, it's Marquette because he's a magical, super special person. He rules by divine right. Right? It's my name, Marquette. My name's Ezra Patrick Stewart, right? Ezra means help. Patrick was the saint who drove the snakes out of Ireland, and Stewart means steward of the land. So by his same logic, it's my divine responsibility to put a bullet in his head, the same way it's his divine responsibility to rule over you schmucks. Okay? But it's just words, guys. You can make up your own divine responsibility. And I think rather than make it up, why not just pick one? You know, you want to be a slave for pimps like this? Do you want to live in an industrial hellhole, or do you want to live in like a Studio Ghibli terraform paradise? With your, traveling the world on your little electric e-wheels from solar charged commune through a massive global food forest, right? Like, what's your divine? What do you want, right? Well, these words don't mean anything. His name doesn't mean anything. He has no divine right.
Which probably sounds like an African-American woman to a lot of the people who are seeing my job application, which is probably why they didn't want to pass me on to the hiring manager. I was having trouble getting a job, even though I went to Berkeley and Johns Hopkins. You lied just now and said that you got to get a job. I went the other route.
You don't have to get a job. You could also create a small harem. They usually get started in college of 4 or 5 chicks, and pretend you're working and keep borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. But in reality situation, you're just a drain on all of these women's time and resources, and you don't fucking work. And it wasn't until the only way you can, make it profitable for the group is to, is to begin to sell access to these assets, right? So he's right. He didn't get a job. He became a pimp.
Created a business, you see, and in creating a business, I started offering value to a marketplace. Everyone's getting paid what they're worth. What you should ask yourself, Sam, is why?
No, they're not. There are a lot of people getting paid far more than they are worth. Like, for example, all of the females in his harem who are doing jobs that could be replaced by a computer, but if you replace them by a computer, then they wouldn't be in his harem anymore, would they? Right? There are many, 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 many people being paid far more than they are worth because the money is being printed artificially just to segregate them from potential families. Okay? So, real talk.
Why is it I'm so concerned with trying to figure out how low wage people can continue being low wage instead of hopping onto this Marquettism, you dig, and trying to figure out how I can help people offer more value and they can get paid for the increased value they're bringing? Why are you so?
Yeah, why aren't you paying me to tell you how you can become more like me as I drain more and more and more and more and more and more of your money to pay for the hoes who would have been your wife if he didn't exist? Why wouldn't I get on that? That sounds like a lovely train. No.
Concerned with dealing with the floor instead of trying to take people to the mountaintop.
He's not trying to take people to the mountaintop. He's just the latest incarnation in a legacy old line of lying priests, lying pimps in priestly clothing. That's all he is.
But because the majority of the people that exist in the United States are at the floor or somewhere near the floor compared.
The majority of the world are at the floor now. He thinks it's a lie because he never leaves his bubble cities. He hasn't been traveling around. He hasn't seen the damage his excesses have caused. He hasn't done basic math of, well, if I have 300 chicks locked up in boxes, how are 300 dudes supposed to have families? Oh, if I'm doing that, and Fresh and Fet's doing that, and the church is doing that, and the Pope's doing that, and the government's doing that, and Tanner Tate's doing that, you think that's going to have repercussions, Marquette? Do you think so? There's a reason this dude wants to become president, bro. He wants the Secret Service.
Comparative to the top 1%. This is not disputed.
You're telling me
This is
most
not disputed.
America make minimum wage? We're talking about
No,
minimum
I'm
wage.
saying to the floor. If we have a graph and the top
floor
is
minimum
the,
wage.
yeah, I know that the floor is minimum wage. Okay, so
No, the floor is money is not worth anything, and we're all here together, and that's where we're getting, Mr. Marquette, whatever your special magical name is that gives you divine right to be a covert rapist pimp behind closed doors and rent access to women to enrich yourself off the back of thousands of male slaves.
let's just make this distinction. Most people in America are closer to being homeless than being a billionaire, correct?
Yeah, which is ridiculous because if you hitchhike around this country because of the people like him and the practices I just mentioned, there's basically, it's a ghost town, coast to coast. Yeah.
There's a fucking tornado warning for Grass Valley.
Oh, we got a tornado warning in town, guys. So this is how crazy the weather is getting. In my entire life, we have never had a tornado.
Southeast of us.
This is crazy. I'll be back. I'll get back to you guys later.